Hey everyone, in my latest podcast, I once again sit down with MariMed, who announced earlier this month their latest quarterly earnings and for the most part met expectations. However, they lowered their guidance for the remainder of 2022. But don't be alarmed. In the earnings call, they announced that if they stick to their game plan, they can generate $350 million over time. Big numbers to say the least. How? We break it all down right now in our latest podcast.
What's going on, bro?
Hey everyone, welcome to TDR's Cannabis Series. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Before we get into today's podcast, we just want to let you know, thank you for joining us. Feel free to click on that bell for notifications and leave a comment below. We're talking with MariMed today, a cannabis company that many of you like. We had an interview last month on and got a lot of great traction. There's a lot of great conversations. They had their recent earnings report last month. So let us know, did you like their earnings reports and what do you like about the company moving forward? Before we get into, obviously, like I said, today's podcast, I want to welcome in the Chief Operating Officer of MariMed, Timothy Shaw. Timothy, great to have you on. How are things?
Great to be here. I'm doing well, Shad. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. And for the most part, where are you based at, Timothy?
I'm all over the place, but mostly in Massachusetts. Yeah, mostly in Massachusetts. Our flagship grow is here in New Bedford, Massachusetts, so I seem to spend a lot of time here.
What's up with your Red Sox? They've slumped a little bit in the last few months.
That's a sore subject. On to the next question.
Good point. I can't say much, Andrew. I'm a Tigers fan, and that's been pretty brutal. I still have nightmares thinking about Big Papi about close to 10 years ago in the bottom of the eighth, Torrey Hunter flying over the wall. We had that series, but we obviously did not.
Right.
Anyway, wanted to touch, let's obviously talk about how things are progressing over the summer as far as the business standpoint. Earlier this month, back on August 8th, you reported Q2 2022 earnings. For the most part, results met expectations on the revenue side. However, guidance was lowered for the remainder of the year of 2022 due to regulatory and construction delays, as well as some macro issues that obviously many companies are experiencing right now across the industry. So overall, what's the message you want to communicate to your investors based on that recent news from earlier this month?
The message is really, we're bullish as ever. I think we're as strong as we've ever been. Like you said, we've been dealing with some headwinds. Both things we can and cannot control. The economy hasn't helped. Consumers are spending a little bit less at the register. And if that was just the case, we would have weathered the storm. Some of the other things we're dealing with, like you alluded to, the regulatory and construction delays, there's still issues with supply chain and getting all the equipment needs to finish construction. A lot of times it's all the things at the end that the big detailed products are tough to get. And then regulatory, we just can't speed up these states. They don't always have the same fire that we do to get open. So we currently have a couple dispensaries ready to open, and we're just waiting for the regulatory to catch up and finish our inspections.
Well, outside of some of the things that you can't control, were you impressed? Were you happy with the results of what you produced in your latest earnings?
Absolutely. Some of the things as other companies are dealing with loss of customers and traction going the wrong way, we've increased in all of our dispensaries our foot traffic, which is a great sign to show we're doing something right. Consumers, when they are spending, are coming back to our facilities, and we have a great loyalty program.
Why do you think, consumers, obviously, it starts off with your leading brand, Betty's Eddies, but for the most part, what's some of the feedback that you receive as to how you're increasing your consumer base? Because I'm sure a lot of investors would like to learn based off of that.
A lot of it goes back to loyalty, right? Subway figured it out with the punch stamps on you buy 8 subs, get your 9th free. So we really try to have as much interaction with our consumers, try to make sure they're happy with the service they're getting. We try to make sure that we have a product for all walks of life, all price points of life, and
makes sense.
Just keep touch points and make sure they know that they're appreciated for coming here, and we try to give back as much as we can to keep them coming back.
Do you think that lacks at all in the industry? Because most people say if you're going to start open business when it comes to loyalty, that should be a given. But do you think people are saying but not necessarily maybe following through?
I'm not sure what anybody else is doing, but I could say that's something that we put a heavy focus on. I could say, there's dispensaries that have their retail floor is smaller than a Subway per se, and I
Right.
don't make any money from Subway. I mentioned them twice already, uh, but ours are much larger than that. We offer a very comforting environment. We offer an ability to not feel rushed at the register. We really thrive on educating the consumer to feel comfortable in their purchase. Buyer's remorse in an industry where people are finding their way to cannabis. And if it's your first purchase, you really want to be able to inform them to make the best decision, the best conscious decision. I think
Yeah.
that plays a big role, that we take time to deal with our consumers.
Well, we talk about some of the value that you're bringing in as a company. When I looked at your latest earnings call, co-founder and chief administration officer John Levine said, "quote We estimate that we can generate over $350 million dollars in revenue over time." End quote. If that's the case, this would then imply that your current footprint would need to generate revenues approximately 172% above the 128.3 million you've generated over the past previous 4 quarters. So based off of this, help, I guess, me and my audience understand, like, where do you see this additional dollars coming from? Where does the potential revenue, where is it being produced?
He's put a lot on my shoulders, Shad. I mean, that's a big one, right? I mean, but really, it's simple. We're in a lot of limited licenses states with both limited how many licenses you can have and what cannabis size you can have as far as how big your grows can be. And we're not maximized in any of them yet.
Okay.
And in the short term, we are looking to get to those numbers and maximize our ability in each one of these markets that we've shown success. We've shown brand loyalty. Betty's, as you've mentioned in the past, is our number one seller in all
Yeah.
markets that she's in. She does really well amongst all the other brands, and there's some great brands out there. So if we can get, for instance, in Illinois, we have 4 dispensaries open. We have a
Yeah.
fifth one in the process of construction and looking to get open, right? We have an opportunity to have 10. So there's 4 more dispensaries on top of that we can get moving. Massachusetts, we have the opportunity for 100,000 square feet in canopy. We're not even at the 50% mark. Our Nature's Heritage branded flower is still amongst the top flower in the state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Highly sought after. We don't have any problems with getting that onto the shelves. Everybody is looking for it. So if we can continue riding this wave in all of these states, we're going to be able to hit that number. Conservatively, right? I mean, Maryland, we will be vertical come as long as the regulatory catches up and gives us our inspection in September. We should be open in October. We'll have another state with a full vertical, which really helps us control our
Yeah.
margins and keep all of our products on the shelves.
I don't want to put timelines on things, but you get this question asked, like, when do you think you'll get to the maximum allowable dispensary cap in each state? Like, how long does something like that usually take?
My crystal ball is fuzzy, and a lot of it relies on the local municipalities and the
Yeah.
regulatory body at the state level. We've found locations that may be perfect, and for one reason or the other, the town, the state, or whatever doesn't allow it. So it's a constant battle of red tape to try to get these places open.
Some things you can control and you can't, right? But
That's
still, the
correct.
industry is growing at a pace that, I think few have never seen before. When I look further into this, you look back at the announcement that you made back on June 29th, which was the expansion of your number one brand, Betty's Eddies, that's just available in Maine. And it was also mentioned that this move aligns with the company's strategic growth plan to distribute your brands across legal states in the country. So, update from that announcement. Are you gaining traction, getting the Betty's Eddies product into more legal states?
Absolutely. I think we just announced a new partnership in Maine. We were in Maine already on the medical level, but now Maine has really grown a robust recreational industry there. And the amount of people, I mean, 40 million plus people travel to Maine. It's another vacation land. You wouldn't
Right.
think, and a lot of them aren't coming there with medical cards. They're using the recreational program. So we recently signed a licensing agreement there, and we're actually going up there Monday for our first production run. So we'll be in that market probably the first or second week in September with Betty's Eddies. And we're looking much further than Maine. We're in Puerto Rico. We're looking at other good partners. It's all about the partnership. We can move a little faster, but we really want a long-term partnership, and we need this to be successful and not going back and forth.
Branding is a big challenge in this industry right now, but if you can build, obviously, a product, cookies is a prime example. Obviously, your Betty's Eddies brand is going down that road right now. If you could really put into perspective people that are new to your story, new to your company and your brand, why do you think it's such a popular seller? And as far as brand recognition, like how much awareness do you think or momentum it's gained over the past year or so?
Yeah, great question. Cookies has done a great job at marketing that brand. It's probably one of the only brands that can almost be considered a household name in cannabis, right? And Betty's, I agree, is headed down that path. Betty's is a different circumstance in that it's a product, not just a brand for mostly retail and some flower. And I really attest that too, because we haven't put a lot of marketing dollars behind Betty's. It's really stood on its own too with high quality. We don't cut corners in quality. We make sure that all of the ingredients are purposely sourced. They're organic. They hit all the key attributes: vegan, organic, lactose-free, all these things. I mean, there's sugar in them, but it's the highest quality of all ingredients. And it shows. It tastes amazing, and the efficacy is next to none, right?
Top notch.
It's top notch. It really is. And it's consistent. We have a program to where we send the dry ingredients pre-mixed to all of our locations from a centralized professional group of people that are making this. They breathe, sleep, bleed Betty's Eddies, right? So we're not having licensed folks that don't really necessarily have the same love for the brand as we do, making and mixing the ingredients. So you're going to get consistency, which I think is lacking in this space, where you could get the same product in the West Coast to the East Coast, and there's going to be a huge variation where we've been able to overcome that.
Consistency is a big question mark that still remains within the industry. What surprises me a lot is the effectiveness of the brand, and yet you've done no marketing. Like, you've obviously got a team, and for those new to this story, again, you guys made it all the way to the Jimmy Kimmel show back last fall when you made an 850-pound brownie. But are there talks about putting together some sort of marketing or branding strategy related to the actual product because it sells so well?
Absolutely. We've made the announcement. We've brought on Robert Hall working with us in a CMO capacity. If anybody doesn't know him, he comes from Boston Beer Works. Truly is a beverage that is well known, usually number 1 or 2 across the country in the seltzer world. And his strategic approach and thought process on how to approach marketing is just amazing. So we're happy to have him, and he's just getting started with working with the brand. So we're excited.
When we look at the industry as a whole, I'm starting to see some bounce back. The summer doldrums appear to be, and let's face it, from Labor Day to Christmas seem to be the lucrative months for this industry as far as making money. When we look at the entire industry, we are seeing margin pressures from a slower consumer spend combined with decreased flower prices in states such as Maryland, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. But with inflation retrieving, and like I said, the end of the summer, do you think Q2 in some ways was kind of like a cyclical trough in revenue growth and margins, and we perhaps have turned the corner?
I hope so, right? I hope so. And I think everybody's felt the pressure, and I think this is where branding matters most.
Mm-hmm.
We took a different approach and kept the premiums on our top brands and added new brands that played in the value space, right? And with our new brands in the value space, we've been able to capture multi-levels of the different demographics that can or cannot afford to buy the most premium products, which they're still great products of the highest value in the premium, in the value brand space. And so I do agree that we've seen some stability happen. We've seen more and more traffic walking back in the door. The ticket price at the register has somewhat leveled out. It went down about $5 over from Q1 to Q2, and it's kind of stayed the same through Q2. So I'm hoping it's turned the corner. The world is seeing some stability, and we get back to growth.
How long have you been with the company for?
Well, I was born at a very young age. Bob, John, and I met around 2011, 2012 when the medical program launched in Massachusetts. And we kind of just stuck around and grew from there together, with Delaware being our first effort together.
I was speaking with John Levine, who was on last time, and I asked him the question: do you think you're the hunter or the hunted when it comes to acquiring and mergers and acquisitions with various companies within this space? And he made it very clear that we are definitely the hunter, and we want to continue to expand. I think, as we all know, especially with new investors, a lot of the companies, these tier one MSOs, get a lot of the attention. But from what you've learned from 2011 to now, and the way your business is operating, what's a clear message that you try to communicate to your investors, like, every single quarter, about the opportunity that your company presents? And I think there's a lot of misconception out there as to what people don't know within the space, because there's certain companies that are selling out, like, for example, $3,800 for an ounce, while some of these other multi-state operators are not selling out, and they're selling it at like half the amount or half the price. But these are key things, reading kind of between the lines. But you guys are experiencing that. You talk about product. People are becoming more sophisticated and educated within the industry. So drum it all down. What's the biggest thing or takeaway that you've learned, and how it's going to benefit you moving forward from an investment standpoint moving forward?
Discipline. It all comes down to discipline, right? And bigger isn't always better. I mean, I think profits, a percentage of a small profit is better than 100% of a negative carry, right? So
Right.
I think there's been a lot of groups who have come in after us and have leapfrogged as far as size, but are losing hand over fist every quarter. So, I mean, whether it was a bubble or Canada had something to do with the big burst in the cannabis space, but
100% it did.
Yeah, so we've just kept our nose to the grind, trying to be as disciplined as possible, and not overpaying for things. Not things are going to turn around. People are spending telephone numbers for paper without a real business. That's not in our bloodline. We're looking to buy revenue or grow organically, and to make the most for our shareholders.
Yeah. And I've had some interviews in the past with Bob as well, and he really emphasizes on a lot of core values within the company, which is like slow and steady wins the race. And one thing I think is really important is just the culture that's taking place in a lot of these companies. So being there for 10 plus years, how would you best describe the work environment and the benefits that actually pays off long term for the success of a company?
It's a family environment. I mean, that could be construed many ways, but we have such a great relationship from the bottom up, and most people in the building know me first name. We're high-fiving every day. People are whistling while they work. It's a great place to be, right? This is, you pinch yourself. 15 years ago, this wasn't happening. As many states as are legal now, and this is a real industry. Federal government might get out of the way in the near future. So this is an exciting time. It's historical. And I think most folks within our company realize that, are happy to be here, and we have a lot of fun. It's a good environment.
Think about this. I had a guest on last week that talked about how he attended the first MJ Biz. I forget how long ago, how many years ago it was, but it was a small conference room, and they all were discussing which rooms to exit out if the cops came in and actually, raided the place. I'm like,
right.
Think about how much the industry has grown when you take it back to the early days. But that was the reality. And I think people don't really realize what it took in the early days to get this industry off the ground, right?
Yeah, it's snowballed tremendously over the past 5 years, more than I think anybody could have imagined. So, and with anything, there's ups and downs. I think this is going nowhere. I think there's a lot of growth still to be had. And branded high quality products are going to win in the long run. I think Bob and John will say the same thing. We're really focused on strong brands and gaining trust within the consumer.
Yeah. One thing I find important too, in my last question, I want to focus on business operations. You'll soon be vertical in Maryland, and the company is adding additional dispensaries in Illinois and Ohio in the coming markets. And these are all, let's face it, early stage cannabis markets. So we asked this question last time John Levine was on with us, and that was, is this kind of in some ways a concerted effort when it comes to focusing on early growth markets? Is that? And if so, I guess how many more markets are there to pick and choose from across the country that give you these same opportunities as to what you're experiencing now?
Great question. There's still a lot to be had, right? And the newer markets coming online, I think being a early mover in those markets gives you an opportunity to gain those consumers' trust easier than coming in late to the game. So I think that's part of the strategy, getting our brands out there first when there's not as much options out there. And
right.
Once you try our products, we're going to have you as a loyal customer because they're that good, right? The other side of it is some of those legacy states, we'll call them, that have been around for a while are feeling the compression. There are bad operators out there, right, that are going through the turmoil and can't stay above water anymore. Like I said, we don't want to pay a lot. We're going to be primed and ready and profitable to go into those markets and consume those companies when they raise their white flag and looking to get out of the game.
Mm-hmm. Lots of growth opportunity, and some of these markets that a lot of people don't talk about. You know, California is a market that gets brought up so many times, but I have to admit, like, will it ever become, you know, this profitable, you know, legal market? A lot of question marks that still remain, but the more and more as this industry matures, you're starting to hear like the Oklahomas, the Ohios, these markets that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about, that are like, if you can establish yourself and you have the right dispensaries, like locations, and let's face it, as the industry matures, you're starting to see certain commercials of like various cannabis brands being advertised. It's just stick to your lane and do it well, and it's going to be very lucrative, right?
Agreed. That's the hardest part in this space. Being a new industry, there's opportunity every day that we're all seeing flying right at us, and everything looks like the next sliced bread. Keeping your horse blinders on, staying focused on your core values and core competencies is going to really help you be a winner and stay profitable, which is number one for us.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of investors, you know, they were happy with obviously revenue that met expectations, guidance, you know, a lot of people concerned, but let's face it, we are in the times that we're in right now. But as we're starting to see a little bit this week, a little bit of bounce back in the industry. So one thing's for sure, people are not going away with this industry when it comes to interest. It's like some people I talk to say that we're still in the preseason. If we look this as a football season, like we haven't even got started yet. And I have to agree, but tremendous growth opportunities. And obviously important to do your due diligence to find out what some of those companies are and how they're turning profit. But listen, appreciate the update, and let's keep in touch with each other.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me, Shad. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Timothy. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, wait until you see what we have next. Some of the best thought leaders in the verticals that we cover, from cannabis and psychedelics to cryptos and NFTs and sports wagering. So if you want to learn more, make sure to click on that bell for all notifications, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.